Thanks for checking out the video today, everybody. This is going to be a showcase of the first add-on that Luminous Labs has put onto the Blender market. It's called Animate Collection Visibility. So what this add-on does is it makes it so that you don't have to individually click every single object in your scene to animate it, because when we're doing these archviz projects, the memory usage on your graphics card is a really important factor. It might be one of the most important factors on getting not only high quality renders, but getting them in as quick a time as possible. So it just wasn't feasible for us to go into every keyframe. So every time the camera was moving, since we do a lot of 360s, and having each object keyframed individually. So I'm going to show you how to actually do that if you don't know how to do it already. But then I'm also going to show you why the add-on is so helpful and why I think you should pick it up. I think we're good to get rolling on this. What I'm going to do to start it off is I'm going to just do a quick test render, and I'll just unhide everything. So it's just a 4,000 by 3,000. I'll do 200 samples. Let's just see when I hit go how much memory is going to be taken up by the graphics card. So in this particular scene, it's peaking at about 18 gigs of VRAM memory, which I have a 3090, so it's not too bad. Like, this would be fine if I was rendering it just for one of our projects, but I did have a 2080 Ti for when we started this project, and it was going over the 11 gigabytes that you have. If you have a card like a 3070, this is even more important, because with that 8 gigabytes, you really need to be able to optimize your scene. So let's stop this render, and then I'll show you how you can bring this down a little bit. Now that we have seen how much the raw data is, so if we just let this render with no optimizations, it's going to be about 18 gigs of VRAM. But let's see if we can get that down to a more reasonable number. The first one that I want to show you with, and this is without the add-on that I'm going to be showing you how to do this, just for this part. If you don't already have all of your collections organized into certain rooms of the apartment, I really do recommend that you do that. It saves you a ton of time. And what I also have is I have this camera here, so you can see this orange icon here. If I just go around, you can see that it's moving through the scene. So that I want to be able to hit render or batch render it, and then it is going to just go overnight and go from panorama to panorama, and it's going to go as fast as possible. I have it set to, I think, 5.9, so just eye level. And these I'm going to set to, I don't know, this is just something that I typically have the render settings to, but that looks pretty good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to look at this, and I'm going to keyframe all of this. And I would recommend that you turn this on. Just be careful about the auto keying, because we've left it on quite a few times, and then it's kind of messed with our scenes. We have to go back and revert a bunch of stuff. But what you'll do is go through and keyframe all of this. So what you do is hover this and hit I. And this is quite literally what you have to do. There's no shortcut to doing this that I know of besides the add-on. And this is how it works. So you go through this. If there's anything like that, open up all of the collections, everything that could have certain mesh in it. So right here, as you see, I missed one. So you have to go through and kind of it's pretty tedious, but it does get faster once you set it up for the first time. I'll show you why. So that is looking good, I think. This is a pretty small one. But now that we have all of these keyframed and we have auto keying on, we want all of these off, because from this panorama, you're never going to see into the office. So now we can just go like this, click on the top one, and then just drag it down. And as you can see, it'll just start auto keyframing them. And then you can just drag this down. So that's a lot faster than clicking all of them. And so then we can go, okay, that one's good. Let's go to the next scene. And this one, I think you might be able, no, so you can't see it. I think I set it up specifically so that you can't see into that one. So that one's good. We'll go 3. And you can't see it in this one. So then we'll go 4. Can't see it. Can't see it. Can't see it here. And you can in number 7. So we'll flip everything back on. And you might be like, okay, well, what's the point of doing that? The reason is that if you're over here in the kitchen, then there's no point in having this in here. Leave the lights and everything on, and you won't be able to tell that there's no assets in the room, but you'll free up maybe 3 gigs of actual VRAM storage. So if you can get it, as I said, under your graphics card cap, if the graphics card can load everything in onto its own memory, it's going to go a lot faster. By doing that, you might honestly cut your render times in half. And then if you go and get e-cycles, it will almost always cut your render times in half, plus giving you some other really cool features like the denoiser. It's really worth it. If anyone's on the fence about getting e-cycles, I would say it's almost necessary if you're doing archviz. It really is the best. So yeah, from here, that's what we would do is we'd go through and do all of these. And as you can see, if we were doing this for 10 units and we have to do it for every keyframe, it can take quite a bit of time, even though I have figured out a way of making it fairly quick with that. But I'm going to show you how the actual add-on works. So when you install the add-on, it will just be under Animate Collection Visibility. That's the information here. If you click on the tab, all this is instructions. There's nothing here that you need to like click or adjust or anything. This just tells you roughly how it's going to work. But once you see it once, you don't really need instructions. All it does is it took over the Shift Q and the Shift T hotkeys. So if we now go back to number 1 and we go to kitchen, let's open all of this up. So this one, there's quite a bit more assets. This one would not be as easy as doing the office. It'd probably take you like at least 10 minutes to go through and make sure you got everything, maybe 5 if you're going fast. But once you have the add-on, just click kitchen. So you want to click this top one here. It has to be blue highlighted or it won't work. Hit Shift Q. And now every single object, mesh, everything that can have that keyframe is now keyframed. And from there, you can go through and make the changes. But I'll show you this as well. So we go to number 2. Okay, we still want to see it. But we go to number 3, we don't want to see it anymore. So we turn both of these off. Shift Q again. Now they're all keyframed. Something that is worth mentioning, though, is that to make this work as well as it should, you have to turn these off. So then you keyframe them, as I mentioned. And then you just turn them back on because you do want to have these on for render time because this is where all the information about the visibility is going to be taken from. So you don't need to actually have these off, but you do need to turn them off just to keyframe it. It's kind of weird, but it was the easiest way to make it all work. And once we get to the bedroom, everything in the kitchen disappears. So then we'll go to the next one. And that's in the bathroom, so we can leave this off. And then you can't see it from here, I believe. I just put the panoramas in a way that we could do it as optimally as possible. So now 7, you can't see it there. Or 6 and 7, you can't see. So that one's good. Patio and kitchen are done. We'll go back to 1. I'm going to Shift Q. Oh, Shift Q. Shift Q. Shift Q. Shift Q. It does take a second to go through all of the objects and calculate it. And I'll open this one up just so we can see again what's happening. I'll click on laundry room, QT, everything is keyframed. Now, QT is what you do to add in the keyframe. If you want to remove the keyframe, you just have it hovered, Shift T, everything removes, Shift Q, it goes back on. And now that we have all of this, we can just you can almost break it down just to this level and you can move around the scene and you can go, okay, so at 1, we need to have the kitchen and the living room on, but those are the only ones. So we can go to bedroom, turn these off, click on it, Shift Q, turn them back on, and office is here. So I'll turn these off on this one, Shift Q, good. And the living room should be on, kitchen's on, The bathroom needs to be turned off. As you can see, once we do that, everything is good. Laundry room. Shift Q, turn it back on. And you can see how sparse everything gets in the apartment. So let's save this and let's render it out and see how much we are going to have when we just have the kitchen, the living room, and the patio on. And then, you know, the HDRIs or whatever other materials are not going to be turned off. Now that this is loaded up, we are looking at a memory of just under 11. So this is, yeah, I'd say this is like probably 10 and 3/4, something like that. So this is much better. If I was using my old 2080 Ti, I would now be able to render this entire scene without using any of the RAM. So every time the graphics card has to find something that isn't saved in its own memory, it has to ask the CPU to go find it in the RAM, and that's what slows the renders down. But you can see just how powerful that can be. And if you are having trouble where you're just going over, this add-on can 100% help you. The only downside that I will say, and this is kind of a disclaimer, is that you can't use persistent data with this because it is actually changing. So hopefully in the future, there's a way that eCycles is going to be able to ignore certain keyframes when it comes to persistent data. I don't think it will easily, at least, because I think that kind of opens up a whole other box of problems. But maybe there's a way that you can at least optimize it better. But yeah, for the most part, that is the quick tutorial on how you animate all of the collection visibility. You don't have to buy the add-on. We have it on the Blender market for $8 and iMeshh for $6. Greg 10 promo code, by the way. But the problem with doing it just manually is that it just takes longer. So if you do get our add-on, I can guarantee you that it's going to save you time. However, if you don't want to buy the add-on, you can also just do it by manually keyframing all of the objects in, which is what I did for a long time. It's completely feasible. It's just that, you know, I personally will never do it like that again since I have the add-on, and it has already saved me a lot of time. That was one of the biggest annoyances that we had when we first started doing archviz, because we knew that there had to be a way to do it, but it turns out there wasn't, so we just had to get an add-on created that does that. But I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you enjoy the add-on. If you enjoyed the video and found it interesting, I'd really appreciate it if you can give it a like, and also throw my channel a subscription if you're not already. I try and release videos once every 2 or 3 days, but it just depends on how busy we are at the time. Some weeks I have a bunch of videos, some weeks I have none. It all just depends on how much stuff we have going on kind of behind the scenes. But I hope to see you in future videos, and I hope you learned something. So that's going to be the end of the video. I hope you have a good night, and I hope you learned something.